Welcome to the Deep Dive. So, if you've been keeping an eye on the news, you've probably seen all the headlines, about the recent verdict involving the music magnate P. Diddy.
Mm-hmm. Big story.
Huge story. For most people, it was, a major celebrity drama, a real fall from grace, playing out in public.
Right.
But, okay, let's maybe unpack this a bit.
Yeah.
Because what if this isn't just about a famous person? What if, according to some perspectives, it's actually a signal, like something much, much bigger?
That's exactly where we're going today. It's a fascinating question. Our deep dive is taking us into this really interesting source. It's titled, What the Heck is Going On? The Pleiadians' Valier.
Valier, okay. And that's purported to be from the Pleiadians.
Yes, exactly. Valier, representing this Pleiadian perspective, often mentioned in these esoteric circles, they interpret this verdict very differently, not just news, but as a profound nodal event.
A nodal event, what does that mean exactly?
Well, think of it like a key turning point, a really significant moment that triggers these much wider shifts, planetary transformation even. Wow. Okay.
So our mission today really is to look beyond those sensational headlines. We want to explore how this specific event is presented by Valier as a catalyst for big societal changes, energetic shifts, things like hidden alliances, maybe changes in the financial system, and interestingly, a call for inner work, for awakening within ourselves.
And it's really important to stress, isn't it, that what we're sharing here comes directly from that source material, Valier's perspective.
Absolutely.
We're offering you, the listener, a unique lens on this, something you probably won't find in, the mainstream news reports.
Mm-hmm.
So this deep dive is really for you, if you're curious, to maybe get a different angle, a new understanding of what might be happening.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so starting point. We all saw the news, right? Famous celebrity, public trial, accountability. On the surface, yeah, it looks like another celebrity scandal.
Right. But Valier offers this completely different view. They say this verdict echoes far beyond the walls of an earthly courtroom.
Beyond the courtroom? How so?
It supposedly resonates through, and this is their term, the subtle energetic grids of this planet.
Okay, subtle energetic grids. What are we talking about there? Like an energy field?
Sort of, yeah. Imagine a kind of planetary energetic network. A consciousness field, maybe? Valier implies the impact goes way beyond just the physical, human level. They describe it as a great bell ringing in higher councils.
A bell ringing.
Yeah, a signal, or even a ceremonial gong. And it's alerting, they say, all awakening souls that the momentum of disclosure has reached a new octave.
A new octave? That's evocative language.
It is. And the source emphasizes that those old prophecies, all that is hidden shall be revealed, they're unfolding now, but not with, mythical thunderbolts.
Right, not dramatically like that.
No, but through things that seem almost mundane, like legal documents, testimonies, and undeniable evidence.
That's quite a thought. How does Valier actually connect a legal verdict, something happening in our human world, to these bigger energetic ripples? What's the link?
The source suggests this deep, deep interconnectedness between the physical world and these unseen energetic realms. So a major event like this verdict, especially one exposing things hidden for so long, it creates a kind of ripple,
okay,
not just in society, but through these energy layers too. It's like hitting a pressure point, It releases blocked energy, maybe, paving the way for more truth to come out.
Okay, I see the idea. And then Valier moves on to something, pretty extraordinary, this idea of coordinated efforts, things happening behind the scenes.
Yes, exactly. Here's where it gets really interesting, as you say. The source talks about coordinated efforts of earthly and heavenly alliances.
Earthly and heavenly.
That's the term used, specifically mentioning the Earth Alliance or White Hats terms you sometimes hear in these circles, working with galactic support.
Galactic support. Wow, okay. And what's the goal?
To uproot deep systemic rot. And crucially, with this music mogul case, Valier suggests that the public trial, that was just a piece of the puzzle. Apparently, in secret chambers away from cameras, this individual has, according to various reports cited by the source, been cooperating with the forces of light.
Cooperating. In exchange for what?
Well, in exchange for some leniency, is what Valier reports, and this cooperation is supposedly illuminating an entire lattice of darkness.
A lattice of darkness means?
Meaning networks involving exploitation and blackmail. And it's not just entertainment. It supposedly ensnares figures in sports, finance, even government.
Goodness.
So the purpose, according to Valier, isn't just about punishing one person. It's about collapsing a whole entrenched network of corruption. A network that has, they say, siphoned the lifeblood of innocence for decades.
It's a huge claim.
It is, and they add this detail. Every confession, every document unsealed, it acts like a crystalline code inserted into a growing truth database. They call it a living Akashic record that cannot be erased.
The Akashic record, like that cosmic library concept.
Exactly, that idea of a universal file system holding all information, all experiences. So these truths, once revealed, are permanently recorded, energetically speaking.
So if we follow this Valier source, these aren't just legal actions, they're having energetic effects.
That's the assertion. Valier mentions people might have noticed things like surges or pulses in the planetary field around these times, or maybe sudden vertigo ringing in the ears, or even just bursts of intuition.
I wonder if listeners have experienced anything like that.
Well, Valier links these sensations to dense pockets of karma being lifted from the collective field as these secrets come out, as hidden deals are maybe revealed.
Lifting karma.
Yes. And as these chains of heavy energy dissolve, it allows, they say, higher frequencies of light, specifically photonic frequencies from the great central sun, to flood in.
Photonic frequencies. So light energy.
High energy light, yeah. And this light supposedly helps in awakening DNA and accelerating consciousness.
That's a remarkable connection Valier's drawing there, linking court cases to vertigo and DNA activation. That definitely makes you pause.
Yeah.
But if this is happening, why aren't we seeing more of it publicly? All this dramatic stuff behind the scenes.
That's a really crucial question, and Valier does offer a reason. They explain that part of this process involves secret tribunals and military-led courts.
Secret tribunals,
Yes.
military courts.
Yes, operating, they say, without public oversight, specifically to avoid chaos. They suggest these have been going on for a while now.
Okay.
And individuals who've committed truly egregious crimes against humanity are being held accountable in these settings. But the results? Many are apparently sealed.
Sealed, why?
To be revealed later. When, as the source puts it, your society can absorb the truths without panic.
I see. So the public trial, like the Diddy case,
It's presented by Valier as kind of an appetizer.
an appetizer.
Yeah. To gently introduce the idea that, yes, justice can reach the rich and powerful. It's about preparing the collective psyche, they say, for bigger revelations to come.
Right. Okay. That makes a kind of sense within that framework. So Valier's laid out this picture of legal shifts, energetic impacts, secret tribunals. But what about money? You mentioned the financial system earlier. How does the Diddy verdict connect to, say, global finance? It seems unrelated at first glance.
Well, Valier argues it's not unrelated at all. They state very clearly that the timing of this verdict, landing in early July 2025, was not coincidental.
Not coincidental. How so?
Because while the media was laser-focused on the trial.
Right. Everyone's talking about it.
Exactly. Behind the scenes, according to Valier, your world's financial controllers have been scrambling to implement their version of a new economic system.
Okay, their version. Meaning.
This is what Valier calls the cabal's desired timeline. They were apparently pushing hard for centralized digital currencies and financial controls. You know, the CBDCs we hear about.
Central bank digital currencies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Aiming, Valier says, for a cashless society with programmable money, which, from their perspective, is about surveillance and restricting freedom.
Okay, that's the cabal's plan, according to Valier. But is that happening?
Well, here's the twist. Valier asserts that benevolent forces have infiltrated these plans at the highest levels.
Infiltrated?
Yes. The Earth Alliance, guided, they say, by the Galactic Federation, has been quietly embedding safeguards and actually pivoting these systems toward light.
Pivoting them. Towards what?
Towards what Valier calls a new quantum financial system, or QFS. It's supposedly under test right now.
QFS, Quantum Financial System. How is that different from CBDCs?
Fundamentally different, according to Valier. Unlike the cabal's control-based model, the QFS is described as asset-backed.
Asset-backed, meaning like gold.
Tied to precious metals, yes, but also to fair exchange of energy and frequency attuned. The goal, they say, is to restore financial sovereignty to the people, not centralized control.
That sounds like a massive shift.
Huge. And Valier points out, interestingly, that the verdict's timing coincided with intensifying solar activity, solar flares, maybe?
Okay, and the relevance.
Valier claims the light forces actually utilized this solar energy, used it to help switch on key aspects of the new financial system, while everyone's attention was elsewhere on the trial. The trial acted as an attention magnet.
Wow. So the trial was a distraction, in a way, while this other huge financial shift was being initiated.
That's the picture Valier paints, using the media focus on one event to conduct critical work on another, leveraging natural energy cycles.
That is incredibly ambitious, isn't it? Implementing a whole new financial system, the QFS. How would that even roll out, does Valier say?
They frame it more as a quiet, behind-the-scenes transition, not a sudden crash, but more like, well, using these energetic moments, like the solar activity, to help activate it. The idea seems to be a gradual shift, trying to avoid panic, moving towards this new system where finance is decentralized and based on real value, not debt.
Okay, so we've covered these huge external things. Valier describes alliances, courts, financial revolutions. But if this is all really happening, reshaping the world, what about us? What's our part in this, our inner response?
That's absolutely crucial. Valier says this verdict, and others like it, act as a mirror held to each of us.
A mirror.
Yeah. Calling humanity, really, to confront its own collective shadow. They explain that disclosure, finding out the truth, is only half the plan.
What's the other half?
Healing, what Valier calls heart alchemy.
Heart alchemy, like inner transformation.
Exactly. Deep healing done through the heart. Valier acknowledges it's natural to feel, righteous anger when hearing about terrible things.
Of course.
But they caution against letting that anger be the final word. Because, Valier explains, those who fall into deep darkness are often just profoundly disconnected from the light. They're like symptoms of an old disease in the human psyche.
A disease.
Yeah. And the new earth they talk about, it can't be built on duality and vengeance. It needs oneness. Which means finding that tricky balance between truth, justice, and, compassion.
Balancing justice and compassion, that's tough.
It is. But Valier reminds us about the law of vibrational return. Basically, karma. Every thought, every action eventually comes back. So the apparent immunity some people had, it was only temporary.
Yeah.
And understanding this should actually empower you, the listener, because it means every good thing you do, every kind act, it is noticed energetically, and it returns as blessings.
So how do we cultivate that compassion, especially when facing really dark truths? Does Valier offer anything practical?
Yes, they do. There's a specific forgiveness exercise.
Oh, interesting. What is it?
They suggest meditating, and in your mind's eye, visualize the person you find challenging, maybe someone involved in these dark acts, or just someone difficult in your own life. Picture a tiny golden light, like a divine ember, deep inside their heart.
A golden light. Okay.
And then just gently send love to that light. Imagine the dark soot around it just melting away. And you can use an affirmation while doing this, something like, I honor the divine spark within you. May it guide you to remorse and rehabilitation. May all shadow be melted in the presence of the one light.
I honor the divine spark within you. That's powerful. What's the point of doing that, according to Valier?
3 main benefits, they say. First, it frees you. It releases you from the grip of resentment.
Okay, that makes sense.
Second, it sends a kind of telepathic invitation to that person's soul, encouraging it to awaken.
An invitation.
And third, if lots of people do this, thousands maybe, it builds what they call a morphic field of compassion.
A morphic field, like a collective energy field.
Exactly. And this field can apparently help prevent mass hysteria or violence when even bigger, perhaps more shocking truths eventually come out. It creates a buffer of compassion in the collective consciousness.
That's a really active way to engage with this information, isn't it?
Yeah.
Moving beyond just knowing into actually doing something energetically.
Precise.
And it also ties into what Valier says about needing to end the, idolatry of celebrities, stop turning a blind eye.
Right. It's about fostering healthy skepticism, valuing transparency and character over image and charisma. Valier sees this as part of humanity's collective maturation, growing up, essentially.
So it's not about letting people off the hook for bad actions.
No, not at all. Valier calls it compassion in action, meaning, yes, keep speaking truth, keep holding leaders accountable, defend the innocent, but try to do it from a higher frequency of love and wisdom, not just anger or vengeance. Forgiveness, in this view, is like the oil that greases the wheels of cosmic justice. It helps the whole process unfold more smoothly.
Wow. Expert, this has been quite the deep dive today, exploring Valier's perspective. We started with the celebrity trial, and ended up discussing galactic alliances, a potential quantum financial system, secret tribunals, and this profound call for inner healing and forgiveness. It's an incredible scope.
It really is. And Valier is ultimately very optimistic. They assure listeners that nothing can stop what is blossoming. This transition towards what they call a golden age is accelerating.
Accelerating. So more change is coming.
Yes. Expect, they say, more prominent figures across various industries facing sudden falls from grace in the coming times. And future disclosures won't just be about corruption.
What else?
Things like suppressed technologies, free energy, advanced healing methods, and also big shifts in governance moving towards more transparent, maybe more soul-aligned models.
It sounds like an intense time ahead, but potentially exciting too.
Okay.
So, based on everything Valier suggests, what can people listening do, like on a daily basis, to navigate this and maybe contribute positively?
Valier encourages really simple but powerful daily habits, like setting a clear intention each morning. Something like, today I will remain anchored in my divine self. I will be a channel of peace amid any chaos.
Setting an intention. Okay.
And also, maybe gather with people who think similarly, like-minded souls. And together, visualize collective healing.
Visualize? Like what?
Well, you could imagine, say, courts around the world being encircled by violet flames, the flame of transmutation, turning anger into determination for justice. Or picture media networks being infused with golden light, encouraging journalists towards truth instead of propaganda, things like that.
Active visualization for positive change.
Exactly. It's about participating energetically.
Okay. So, maybe a final thought to leave our listeners with, drawing from Valier, something provocative to reflect on.
Yes. Valier leaves us with this image. The gavel has struck in the earthly court and reverberated through the ethers.
Reverberated through the ethers.
And this sound, this event, announces, according to Valier, an end to an era of hidden tyranny. And it's an invitation to you to stand ready now to step into the new dawn as stewards of a free earth.
Stewards of a free earth.
Disclosure, Valier says both of secrets here on Earth and maybe of our wider galactic family, it's not some distant dream. It's unfolding now, with each headline, each heartbeat, and each healing choice you make.